Hello everyone, welcome to the Webdev Beer and Tell for October 2012.
Yay! Yay!
First presenter is Lonnen.
Oh, am I?
Yes.
Yay! One moment.
Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins.
Hey,
I will show some screen if that's permissible.
do that.
How do I do this?
Do you have video?
Zoom in.
Yeah,
Wait, the screen share button.
Yeah, the screen share button. And then you choose the window you want to share or your entire screen.
Oh, okay.
And if you are successful,
You have to be more intimate. There you go.
brilliant.
Am I mic, room mic or my mic?
Room mic. Make sure to mute your laptop.
Done. Hey guys, wanted to show off something that I've been working on for a little while for web tools that I think is going to be handy for everyone else. We've been looking for a way to set up a try server for Webdev. If you're not familiar, try server is a place where you can push proposed changes to the Mozilla Central Code base, and it'll run the whole test suite on them. Basically, pre-integration testing. Jenkins on every pull request, like what you see Travis CI do, but with Jenkins. So I've been digging around for a while, started writing my own thing, thought, oh, this is a dumb idea. I should look and see if anybody else has done it. Turns out somebody has. A company called Little that uses a surprising amount of the Mozilla open source tech stack in their actual product, including our JavaScript engine. They make a netbook. Anyhow, they got this little Flask app called Leroy that sits between GitHub and Jenkins. It registers a webhook to listen for pull request changes in GitHub, and then it sends those along to a Jenkins build job that you set up just for it. And then when that's done, it notifies Leroy, and Leroy updates the pull request with a message about the status. If my laptop would switch tabs.
No.
Beach ball. That's not even a joke. So it updates it with a message about it. If you want screenshots, since my machine isn't cooperating, check out the Webdev blog. I posted a blog about it earlier today with screenshots of what it looks like in action. Here we go. I'm going to pick any of these. It's really handy. It's already changed how we're doing work on Socorro and the Socorro Django rewrite called Socorro Crash Stats. In order to set it up, it's relatively simple. What you need to do is create a parameterized Jenkins job. I can help you do that if you're interested. It means cloning your existing Jenkins job and then adding 5 fields to it in the configure box that basically allow it to accept as a single job a whole bunch of different branches. Once that's set up, any open pull request against your repo, well, you set up the job, and then I have to change a config file and reboot Leroy. And once it's done, any open pull request or any pull request that gets updated after that will have Jenkins job run against it. It's, back of the envelope calculation that I did yesterday, it's saving web tools like 20 hours a week already, just in terms of me not having to pull down, or whoever reviewed not having to pull down, build, and then do a full deploy to make sure that it's not breaking anything, and then finding out that it's going to break something. I see a bounce in IRC, but my laptop is beach ball. Can somebody tell me what it says?
On the blog post, we don't actually see any images. It's just like image goes here.
Awesome. I will fix that. If you instead go to my blog, which is linked at the top of the blog post, there are images. I don't know why.
Your blog is broken?
Yeah, 404 on the blog.
Because GitHub is being DDoS. That could explain why all of this is broken all the time.
I thought that was done. That was
Share on GitHub.
If you want to check out the job inside Jenkins, you will find Socorro-GitHub and SocorroCrashStats.github, but it doesn't tell you. It's not.
Take it easy.
I'm sorry, laptop.
Is that a company like
Why are you so angry?
Anyhow,
I just flipped.
it's really cool. I advise you all to try it. I would not advise you to try it if your Jenkins job takes longer than, let's say, 15 minutes. But if you do want to try it, get in touch with me either later today or early next week, because I'd like to get it set up and running. IT is going to reevaluate what we need in terms of CI horsepower this quarter. So if we are going to, this does add significant load to Jenkins. If we are all about to add a whole lot of load and start using this, they need to know so that they can know how to scale up Jenkins at the start of next year.
Cool. So when GitHub comes back to provide, check it out. It's actually really neat and saves you a bunch of time. I saw it working. He sits next to me, so it's not just words.
I don't know, Peter.
I think it's brilliant. It means you never have to question someone's pull request anymore.
I don't know what that.
You can just question the functionality. You don't have to wonder if does it break the tests or not.
The other nice thing is once we set this up, we started adding linters to our build step. So if you submit a change that does not comply with our style guides, like PEP8 or add Sterling white spaces, it breaks. Before that was a little too dangerous to do, but now we feel very comfortable with it because we know that we'll catch it beforehand.
So again, you don't have to review people's white space or tests breaking.
Yeah.
You just focus on the functionality.
Any questions?
That's neat. Looking forward to the new hardware.
Somebody's going to have to kick me from video.
That's where
I can't unshare my screen.
You can just, can I do that?
Mm-hmm. Beach ball, I can't do anything.
You can click on it.
On, I can. Hold on, I'll just kick you. Except just have
no, don't do that. What do you do?
Move on.
I clicked the button to kick you.
That'll kick you.
There we go.
Did you also kick Rob Hudson?
No. Collateral damage.
Poor Rob Hudson.
Next up on the list is
There's a lot of silent
Luke.
Images are called
distracted.
Don't worry about it.
Hey, I forgot my headset again, so I'm muted the rest of the time. Alright, so you all see my screen, but more importantly, you should go to that address that I just put in the channel. And when it should ask you to join, and you should say join. So that's showing up on at least other people's.
Yeah, it's working.
Yes.
Alright, so that's basically what people. Last week at Tulsa Tech Fest, I used Deck.js Remote to give a presentation just like this on HTML5, and it uses WebSockets so that I can basically share my slides. This is being served at a Nodejitsu URL, but the slides now will advance as I advance, and there's a couple other things that I added here. I like to put lots of links in my presentations, so I added a little thing that makes all the links go to target of blank, so that while I'm giving a talk, you can actually click on that target equals blank at the top, and it should open in a new tab if you're interested in like finding out more about the topic that I'm speaking about. You can click on the links in there, and it won't disrupt the presentation. I'm using Deck.js Remote WebSockets to keep everything in sync across the masters and all the viewers. So those are all links as well. Another thing I did was to create a Mozilla for Deck.js based on Sandstone. So I did a couple different color tones that we have from Sandstone and included them in there. That's on GitHub now. I added a little bit of code for theme switching. If you press like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, I think you'll go through some different color tones. I included Tabzilla at the top. Tabzilla's in there. And all of those links will also in a background tab as well. Let's see, iframes. I like to put iframes in my presentation, so I made a quick little plugin for Deck.js that will actually defer the loading of iframes. If you have a presentation with a ton of iframes in it, it will take forever to load, and this plugin for Deck.js basically defers the loading until the slide is active or almost active. And then the last thing, there's a quick start, which is what this link is. I made basically a boilerplate of both Deck.js Remote and Deck.js, so that now I'm basically using this to do all of my future presentations, this little process here of cloning both of those so that I can do the same sort of thing every time I give a talk. And that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Cool, nice work, Luke. I know that Tabzilla actually works on it too, so if you want to learn more about Mozilla during the presentation, you can do that.
That's pretty awesome. It's the future.
One question, Luke. It's sometimes confusing to know where I am and where you are. Is there a way of maybe making it so that if I change the slide and you're driving it, that it will say where to go back to?
Yeah, I think that's the Deck.js Remote. I don't remember if it has a feature where you can turn off the ability for someone who's viewing to change the slides. So I'd have to look through Deck.js Remote again. But it should, if you start moving around to a different slide, as soon as I advance to one, it should pop you back in sync. Or at least it's supposed to.
I think it'd be cool to, like on the bottom, if you had, when someone connects to it, they could ask if they want to show the location. And then using sockets, you could actually have all the people who are connected to the slide deck show up somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, what I wanted to do is actually the HTML5 talk that I gave. I wanted to use that and show user agent strings to kind of show how many different user agent strings the presentation was working for. As sort of the cross-platform messaging or whatever. But I'm really interested in next year when I give the same, if hopefully by then I'll be able to put WebRTC windows, basically the big screen down here at the bottom where everyone that's connected, it'll show the video of everyone who's in.
Then you can add Noodle Talk, and then it'll basically be like a Google Hangout.
A noodle.
Self-aware and kill people.
A noodle hangout, I like it.
So, you set up the presentation. Just how do you log in as the controller?
You have to go, that's part of Deck.js Remote, and you just put a question mark master on the end of your URL, and it'll prompt you for a master key that you can set. The other thing is that this beer that I'm drinking is White House beer.
Cool.
In the White House?
The same recipe that they released? Or is it actually from the White House?
Yeah. I didn't actually go up and get honey from the gardens of the White House.
Lazy.
It's not really White House beer, is it?
Oh, come on. Okay, that's awesome, Luke. Nice job. The muted clapping somehow seems sarcastic. So you should unmute.
I unmute, clap, and mute again.
Like golf clap. All right.
James is up next. James Long.
Woo.
Hi guys.
James, Luke, stop sharing. You're oversharing right now.
Too much.
There you go.
Let's see. All right. So I switched my blog to use the jsocol thing, which statically generates your site like 5 months ago or so. And it was kind of awesome at first, right? Like you can just write some posts, then you can generate, then you can just publish HTML, and it works. But over the past few months, I've been really annoyed at it in a lot of different ways. As I'm writing posts, I actually like to see the posts live. And when you save it, it takes jsocol probably like 10 seconds maybe sometimes like 5, to actually, if you're using the auto refresh server, it takes it a while to actually refresh. So it's just really hard to actually write posts. And I had to like manually name the post according to the date. And there's just all these little small cuts that made it really annoying to write blogs. And I set a goal for me to write a blog post every week on my personal blog. Yeah, it's like Ruby or something, I don't know. So anyway, so I got really annoyed at that. And this week when I went to write a blog post, I somehow got in a rage of frustration, and I stayed up till like 4 hacking on a Node.js blogging engine. Yay. So that's what I'm going to show you guys. It's totally dynamic. It actually uses a database. None of this hippie static site generation stuff. Just the normal stuff. And my plan is to use Nginx HTTP cache, just caching it, and that's all you have to do. You don't need to use a static site generator. So I realize this is probably for people who want to blog more. If you're only like doing a tech blog every few weeks or something, you can probably use jsocol. But I actually really want to start blogging a lot more. So it's written in Node. I hosted it up on GitHub. I haven't really named it yet. Right now it's Boogie Woogie because I don't know what to name it right now. So anyway, I'm going to run it. It's running locally right now. So this is my site, and here's a post. I can click on a post, and it uses Redis as the backend. So here's a post. But the thing that I did was I implemented a real-time editor. Well, first, actually, there's browser ID integration. So I'm going to sign into browser ID, and I'm going to sign in as me. I'm not sure if you guys can see the pop-up window or not. I'm signing in. So this is my first site that integrates browser ID, and this is the first time I've done it. Browser ID is really hot, or I guess I should say Persona. Persona is awesome. I just hadn't taken a close look at it before, but it's like, it kind of blew my mind. So I signed in as longster@gmail.com, and that's set as an admin. So I can see this link, edit this article, and if I click that, I get thrown into this little real-time thing, which you guys have probably seen this before. It just uses Markdown, and as I change stuff, I can say, this is a new paragraph, and it updates it on the right real-time, all that kind of fun stuff. So I can sit here and write a post, not have to go to my Emacs or Vim or anything. Personally, I actually like writing posts in a more friendly environment for writing posts, not to write code. When I'm in Emacs, I want to write code. My mind wants to switch to like more of a writer mindset. So that's why I kind of like this. This was inspired by Golem, which is GitHub's wiki editor. But they had a bunch of bugs, so I just wrote my own. So you can click save up here. So let's say here's a new paragraph. Hello. You can click save, and it saves it. You can set the title. You can set the URL. You can set some tags. I'll set a tag that says beer. Set it to published, and you can see that it's updated. So I can also do drafts. Over here in the left column, you can see there's a new post, so you can go to a new post and say hello, save it, do a title, do some tags, and if I don't publish it, it'll just be a draft, so it doesn't show up, but if I go to view drafts, here's all my drafts. I can go in here. So eventually this real-time editor is going to support images and stuff like that, so I can actually upload images and I can see it real-time. So it's kind of your standard blog. You can do tags, you can do posts, and you can edit stuff on the site, which is kind of cool. So when I integrated Browser ID, I suddenly realized, like, I should make it so that other people can edit posts too. So if I log out, and if I sign in as somebody else, and I think, let's see, if I do this right, I think this is going to be somebody who has never signed in before on my site. If I do this right, let's see. Yeah, this is somebody who's never signed in before, so they get thrown to a page that says, once persona kicks in.
James, if you share your desktop and not just the browser window, then people can see the pop-ups and stuff.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, this is the last time I use it, and it might kind of screw up some of the resolution stuff because I'd have to change my resolution.
Okay.
Sorry, I probably should have done that at the beginning, but so I have to actually confirm my email because it's a new post. So if I go over to the email that I just signed up as. Confirm. Oh, shoot. I clicked on the wrong one. This is my spam account. Come on. Okay. So I click this link to confirm persona. Throws me over to the persona page. And this is the really hot part. It actually redirects me to my site and automatically logs me in. And this is just off persona. I'm just kind of amazed because this is the first time I've actually used it. So it throws me here. I'm not logged in. It kicks me out. It's really slow right now because it's compiling unless on the fly and all that. So now I'm logged in as a new user who's not an admin. And what's neat about this is I made it so they could post a new post, which doesn't actually post it, but it emails me, and that way it could be like, hey, you should write about this or something. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but if you edit an article, it will throw you into here, and it will say, if this was here. Actually, let me do it on the other post because it's larger. Okay. So if I wanted to edit this article and like fix a typo or fix some kind of code right here, I could change that to bar and change this to 5. It's running kind of slow right now. And then if I save it, it says thanks, and it says I now have an email, and it emails me a patch, a diff patch. So right here I get an email that says from the user that sent it, and then the patch that I could just copy and paste and apply if I wanted to. Something that I've seen over a long time is people always say, hey, you have a typo here, especially in code examples. And I actually plan on doing a lot of tutorials and stuff, so I think it'd be really, really helpful if people could do this kind of thing. Kind of like a wiki, but it's like I'm a dictator. Kind of fun. And if you're, I think if you're not logged out at all and you try to edit a post, it says, it looks like you're trying to edit my site. That's really cool, but you have to log in to actually save your changes. But you can go into the editor anyway, and just to see it, but you can't really save anything. All you can do is press back. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Cool. That's impressive.
Question?
Sure.
Do you have a question?
No. I was about to clap and read the question.
Yeah. It doesn't do comments or anything. Comments are powered by Discus. But you would have had to do that anyway if you were using jsocol. So.
Does it scroll automatically and when you edit something and you put a paragraph somewhere in the middle, but does it scroll there automatically on the right hand side?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, it's one of the other problems why I did not use Golem's wiki stuff, because it kind of gets close to this, is that the editor was really slow. Like if I was writing a larger post, the key types would be 2 seconds delayed, which is just extremely frustrating. So for this, it actually only polls every 3 seconds, so it's not extremely fast, but it updates every few seconds.
Cool. So we gotta get moving if we're gonna get through all the rest of these. We have about 28 minutes now.
Okay.
Quick clap.
Check time. Nice job.
And we're done. Next up is James Bennett.
Okay. I don't actually have any awesome on-screen demos, so I'm not going to be sharing my screen. I am going to post it here in IRC, though. So, you may have heard about something that would require you to upgrade Django that happened this week. And this is something that we do every once in a while. Sometimes we get a little out of date. We want to go from like 1.3 to 1.4 or whatever. Right now I'm doing an investigation bug for MDN on what's involved in doing a Django upgrade. And I got really tired of manually checking all of these files and looking for things. So I decided, hey, why not automate that? And so I started writing the other day a couple of scripts that went through like different files, just finding major known issues, and emailed the rest of the MDN team and said, hey, since I'm doing this, if I clean it up, would anybody interested in like running it like we do with PEP8? Got some very good response. Decided, okay, gonna clean it up. Spent yesterday writing sort of a lint rules engine, and all this is for is checking Django version compatibility. The basic engine, you can register rules with it in little modules that live in a subdirectory. A rule is just a callback. It has access to, it knows what file it's checking, it sees the line of code that it's checking, and it can return messages with any of 3 different levels. It can do warning, it can do error, or it can just do generic info. And since I got the engine written yesterday, I've been starting to implement some rules. I've got 2 sets in there already. One looks for problematic imports from Django.utils, which we do a lot of, unfortunately, even though it's not actually stable public API and it can change. So that will warn you if you're using incorrect things. The one that I just added today is most of the Django 1.3 release notes implemented as rules for this engine. So it'll tell you about things that got deprecated, things that got removed. It'll make helpful suggestions about things you can do better. It's just designed to be very extensible and support whatever, like, if you can go through and find something in Django that needs to change when you're or find something in your code that needs to change when you upgrade Django, you can write a rule for it. Rules are literally just callbacks, and there's a registration mechanism that hooks them into an option parser. So you can turn sets of rules on and off from the command line and tell it what files you want to run. It's up on GitHub. I'm open to pull requests. My next step is going to be the Django 1.4 release notes, and then probably a preemptive Django 1.5, because we're doing the alpha of that very, very soon. Would love to have input from other people who may be doing Django upgrades or things that I've missed. Jsocol already submitted via IRC a bug instead of a pull request, so I didn't credit him when I fixed it. But if you send me pull requests, I will look at them and merge them. I think that's about it. If anybody has questions.
I have a question. So,
Okay.
is a callback you get a line? Is that literally one line of code from the...
That is one line of code from the file that's being checked. So you're checking line by line.
Oh, what if you, for example, you use the US state field, but you write the choices on the next line because it's multiple.
That rule isn't going to catch it. I haven't quite decided what I want to do about that yet. I may support multi-line stuff in the future. For now, I just kind of wanted to be as close as possible to other lint tools that I've written because it let me write it very, very quickly, and those just go line by line.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Is James Sokol actually here? I'm not hearing a no. Okay, we're skipping him. Next is peterbe.
Who has the big hair on the upper? Well, you can't see it's the upper right. But who's got the big hair and awesome mustache?
You're
He's
muted.
muted. Oh yeah.
That's Brian the Brennan.
That's right. I did it.
It's brianloveswords, also known as Brian Brennan.
Cool.
He's
Also,
demoing.
I like your style. Cool.
No James?
No,
Yeah, James is new.
No, James.
Peter.
So I don't have any slides, and it's just more or less a quick announcement. So in Plato, we're defaulting to Django compressor, and it turned out the Django compressor doesn't support offline compression when we use Jinja. So I've solved that now, but it's still in a bit of immature state. And we're testing it now for Socorro, and it's going to reach production soon. And just so you know that it's there is hope, so you can get Django compressor, Jinja, and offline together. You just wait a couple of weeks until we try it in production. And I believe PMAC is also trying it now on one of the sites that he's working on. Just wanted to calm your nerves. You've been waiting desperately for this for years and days. That was all. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Any questions about that?
No. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, I'll pause.
Andy.
Sir Andy.
Skip can show quickly if you want. Sure, everyone's using StatsD side performance. I added in a nose plugin, Django StatsD, so that when you run your unit test, you can see the output of the timing your site. You just try and share the right screen here. See my terminal? So if you insert the StatsD timing, when you run your unit test, you can activate the Django StatsD plugin. And when it runs your tests, and it's just going to run some Zamboni tests here, it'll just collect all those StatsD timings and tell you at the end of your test run how fast all the things work on your site. So it depends upon you adding timings in first and foremost, which of course we'll all be doing so we can have nice graph-like graphs. But then it really helps you in your trying to track down any performance issues. This is some of the tests in Zamboni here, and at the end we'll just spit out, hopefully you can see all the timings that were done in those tests. And you can refine, change the number of tests you're running, and see what the problems are. This is really useful when you combine it with the monkey patches that Django StatsD has in it. So this one somewhere that I made earlier, and it'll tell you how many database queries you're doing, how many cache lookups you're doing, and information for those unit tests. So in this unit test, for example, if I run it with all the StatsD patches, I find that I'm running 7,000 MySQL queries in a total of 70 tests. And if that doesn't scare you, you haven't looked at Zamboni's code base. So there you go. That's up on GitHub. Upgrade to the latest Django StatsD, and you'll be able to use that. That's it.
That's awesome. Nice. Did you run it on Zamboni too? What are the numbers there? What? I think you're muted.
Just don't want to see. But yeah, if I run this on Zamboni now, it shows I'm doing almost 7,000 SQL queries for 70 tests. That's 100 per test, so something horrible is going on here.
All right then.
Yeah. Woo.
Nice job.
All right.
Up next is Brian Loves Swords.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Brian loves swords.
It's actually Brian Loves Words, but it happens all the time.
Oh, whoops, my bad.
Swords are also pretty great, so, whatever. I am sharing this thing I wrote called Habitat, which is a environment configuration manipulator thing for Node. And I'm going to try to share my screen and hope it works. Can you see my terminal?
Yes.
Okay. So that's my environment.
Could you make it bigger? Or rather, can you make your terminal smaller so that it appears larger?
True.
Oh, okay. Sure. Did that help?
Yes.
A lot.
Okay, cool. Habitat. Okay, so writing process.env everywhere sucks. Also, so the reason we're doing this is because there's this manifesto called the 12-factor application, which the CTO of Heroku wrote, and it's about how you can scale an application and all that stuff. And factor 3 is about not storing your configuration in files and instead storing it in your environment variables. But environment variables are kind of unwieldy, as you can see from my environment. So I wrote this thing that hopefully, helps with that. So you can say habitat and give it a prefix. All of my environment is prefixed with that, so I can do m.get port, and it will get 3000 because that's what I've defined, or host name, like that. What gets a little interesting is so what I've defined for admins is actually, it's basically a JSON structure, which is an array, so I'll get back an array. So I can do that or that and get that back. And DB is a bunch of stuff, but I can just do DB and actually get back a structure for that. Or I can do DB MySQL and get a structure for just the MySQL stuff. Or you can do it with camel case and get back a structure for that other stuff as well. So that's kind of it. It's just for managing your environments and being able to deploy your shit on Heroku more easily or deploy it to anywhere on the cloud, where it's managing it all by configuration of the environment rather than files. That's it.
So in the background, does it basically set the environment variables automatically, or does it work?
Well, so there's two ways. So what I've just done is I did source.env before I started, which is that. But I could also do, let me require that. I could do habitat.load, and it will load from, it will do this basically. It will load from the environment if I want it to. Which is actually, there's something in Ruby called .env that does that for man, which is it's a process runner in Ruby that does the same thing. It automatically tries to load from .env files if they're in the current directory. So Habitat kind of takes that same sort of de facto standard and does the same thing. But if you load a .env file, it will always default to what's in the environment. It won't overwrite it from a .env file. It'll go from what's in the environment, and if it can't find it, it'll fall back to the .env file. Same thing if you do this. You can give it sort of defaults for this. Let me do something that's not there. Something awesome. M.something. Get. Oh, that didn't work, right? Probably.
Oh.
So, I'm messing up somewhere. Anyway, you can pass in defaults, and it'll pull from the defaults, or it'll pull from the environment. Same thing with get. like in Python's get, you can do other thing, and if it can't find it, it'll just give you the default what you pass in. So it's just it's better than doing process.env everywhere.
So when you load Habitat, does it read from the .env file? Is that how it works?
No, so Habitat by default just deals with what's in the environment already. You have to explicitly tell it to read from that env file if you want to read from the env file. So habitat.get. You can also just do get from the main thing right here, which will do everything from your environment without any prefixes. So that's my path.
So if you wanted to do multiple configuration variables, like a base one and then like a production and dev one, do you how would you do that with this?
Well, because it's each environment, you would do it on your systems. You would do it on your machines. That's how
true.
Heroku works.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So you don't have to deal with having different files. You don't have to deal with not checking in your environment and making sure that you don't have any secrets in there. Everything is based on the environment configuration. But it's not so opinionated that it forces you to do that, which is why there's the .env thing. So if you have a .env checked into your thing and you do a habitat.load, it'll load that into your environment and you can use it however you want. So I'm trying not to be super opinionated about it, but the 12-factor opinion is that you shouldn't have files that are configuration checked into your system, and that everything should be loaded from the environment variables. And so that was why I originally built this. And that's that.
So you have 10 minutes between the last two, so.
Alright, I'll be quick.
Hurry up.
Mine is just a little hack. So I recently bought a Raspberry Pi, which is a fabulous little device. If you don't have one, you want one. And this is my browser. So I was thinking about things that I can do with it, and I found an old webcam of mine, and I haven't used a separate webcam for a long time because no computer doesn't have a cam anymore. So I hooked it up to my Raspberry Pi and set it up to stream a little bit of video so that I can spy on my dog at home or something like that. And then I thought it was a little bit creepy to keep it on at all times just in case I want to look at some point. So I wrote a little Flask application that will let me switch on the webcam from here and then take a look and then switch it off again. And then I also got to try out Persona, which indeed is fabulous. So I'm going to log into this because it would be a little creepy if everybody could just log into the webcam at home. And then hopefully you don't see the window, but Persona is being ridiculously slow. Cue hold music. Waiting for login.persona.org. Okay, well then. Okay, and that is my demo. Okay. Beach ball. Oh, really? Come on. There we go. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Signing in. Everybody sit tight. Ideally, this will work. Okay, that's cool. So I logged in with Persona, and the webcam is currently off, and it is in fact off. And I click on this, and what it does is it spawns a new process that then actually starts up the webcam and starts the recording. And there you can see my Raspberry Pi sitting on my desk at home. And the stream is actually not a video stream, it is actually an MJPG stream, which you might never have used before, but it's a standard, it's a motion JPEG. That's basically a stream of different JPEGs, which is a little bit easier and happens to be supported by all sorts of browsers, including Firefox. So, yeah, that's what I do, and now I can spy on my dog at home, and I can switch it back off so she isn't creeped out. And that's my little demo. And you all should get Raspberry Pis. You really do.
That's cool.
Now I log out, and off you go.
Any questions?
It's a Flask app, in case I forgot to do that.
Oh yeah, you said that twice.
Pretty nice. It's a Flask app, by the way. All right.
Cool. Thanks, Fred. Next time, Actually, sorry, Michael Kelly, I'm stealing your thunder. Go ahead.
I'm trying to disconnect here. Let's keep going.
I don't actually have anything to. I don't need to load anything.
What?
You hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that we had some sites that were some dev and staging sites that were down, and nobody noticed until users who were using it for data entry noticed it and complained about it. And so I figured I would see what I could do to fix that. Forget who, somebody pointed me at Uptime, which is a really nice little Node Mongo service to do uptime detection, but it didn't have any auth. And so I just this morning added Persona auth to it, and it's running on uptime.mozillalab.com. And anybody with mozilla.com or mozillafoundation.org email can sign in and add URLs that should be checked and tags, things like that. And then it can basically do like the very cheap and durable version of Pingdom without the actual alerts or anything like that. But it'll basically tell you what if the site's been down for 3 hours or 3 minutes or 3 seconds. Anyway, feel free to use it. Don't expect the data to last. I will probably destroy the data periodically as I poke at it.
That's cool. Nice.
Any questions? Do you want to use that for all of our servers someday?
So I wouldn't want to use it for real serious production things. I mean, this is not what ops people use. This is not connected to anybody's pager. This is something that I think devs might find useful for things that are not code production. I'm hoping that I can use it to find out when things like, everything in the labs cluster is down, or everything in SCL3 is down, or that sort of thing. Or everything written by a tool is down, or something like that. But in general, it just struck me that we have a fairly high threshold for what we actually monitor, and there's no particular reason why we should have a high threshold. As long as we don't over-rotate, but something goes down, it's perfectly fine. I'm talking to Gozer about how to sort of connect to the infrastructure. So they have an inventory management system they're running where they're keeping track of deployments, what's running on what systems, and that sort of thing. And there might be interesting things you could do to connect them up so that they're automatically populated as something gets spun up. All of a sudden monitoring happens. But that's sort of later.
Cool.
I already broke it, David. So I added my backpack, but because it's 303s, it thinks it's down.
Oh, cool. All right, I'll bug.
Cool.
I can't even get in.
You want to give a last demo for you, Leroy?
I've got everything set up. The blog post is up and running again. It was not GitHub's fault. It was mine. But if we have 5 minutes, I would like to give it a shot.
James just joined.
Cool. Let me share my screen.
Hurry on. We're all counting on you.
Hey, real quick, Dave applause.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Thank you, Dave. Let's see if this beach balls again. Okay, cool. So the Webdev blog images should be fixed now if you want to go and take a look. I changed my GitHub username immediately before this meeting to change the lowercase or the uppercase L to a lowercase because it was causing me a bunch of errors. So it broke my blog, which is hosted on GitHub, and all of my repos. Fixed now.
You changed it back?
No, I just updated. I had to push a new build so that my blog would render. The perils of Jekyll. Anyhow, here's a demo of a terrible idea. I just deleted our models.py file, and I'm going to open a pull request.
Which you would never do.
Cannot be automatically merged. That's awful. Let's try another one. This one just makes a change to a README. Can't get back up. Merge with caution. This is good. So when you first open a pull request, it warns you that it hasn't run the test yet. If I scoot over to the Jenkins job, we'll see if it's caught up. Might take a minute or two. Eventually, this will convert, and it will tell you that a Jenkins job is running, and it will give you a link to it. It's not an add-on or anything. It's built right into GitHub using the status API. So if anybody was to go to that URL, they would see the exact same thing that I'm seeing. If I go to the blog post, I can give you a better idea of what the UI looks like for it. Says, I know it's probably blurry for you guys, but determining merge status is what you'll see next with a link to the GitHub job so that you can click through, and it puts this little status bubble next to the SHA that's being built. That'll stay there. If you hover over it in a live demo, it'll give you a pop-up window with the status of it. Failed, succeeded, whatever. It does this for multiple builds. So this is an actual screenshot of one of our pull requests. I was frustrated. You can see the hover window there with the failure. I did some stuff to change it, and we had a success now down at the bottom. And then when it succeeds, you get these lovely green bars giving you extra faith that it's good to merge. It's really, really cool. I encourage all of you to at least try it. Again, I've noticed some of you, because I've been in Jenkins a while this last week, I noticed that some of your build jobs take like an hour to run. This might be a terrible idea if your build process takes an hour. But if you want to set up a job that only runs your tests, talk to me, ping me, whatever. If we can get that down to a reasonable time, under 20 minutes, this would probably be a good investment for you and your team.
And you're sorry for breaking Jenkins.
And yes, I'm sorry for running Jenkins out of space earlier. So, lessons learned from this. You don't want this job to alert in channel. You don't want this job to save any build artifacts for any reason, because it will fill up really quickly. We've had about 150 runs this week. About a third of them have been failures, so this is really saving us.
Cool.
Aha.
I'm proud of you, Lonnie.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Okay. You get 2 rounds of applause.
No.
James Sokol.
We also have a bonus round presenter. James Sokol is actually here and would like to present.
Ooh, hey, everybody. Let me just share the right window here.
James lives in New York too, just so you know.
We've taken Paul Osmond out drinking together. Not always a good thing. Can everybody see my screen? It says Yodog in big letters.
Yes.
Yodog, we can.
Yo.
All right, let's get started. So, Yodog, I'm going to introduce you to what I think is the greatest data structure in the history of data structures. But first, I have to talk a little bit about directed acyclic graphs, or DAGs. So, a directed acyclic graph is a really simple mathematical idea. It's nodes or vertexes and edges, and those edges have a direction. They are sort of the mathematical, theoretical underpinning of a lot of really common, really important data structures, like B trees, binary trees, heaps, tries, all sorts of things are actually directed acyclic graphs. We all actually use directed acyclic graphs every single day because Git is a big directed acyclic graph, which is, once you understand that, Git makes total sense. Just for everybody's. The important thing is that there are no cycles. Given a starting node, you can never get back to that starting node. So this example is not a DAG, not at all. But you can have multiple edges between 2 vertices. So this is a DAG. So what's the value of all this, and why did I start researching it? Well, I was talking to Jen about autocomplete. If you have autocomplete, you want to take a prefix and finish the rest of the work, right? And you want to find all the different possible endings, but you want to store that efficiently, and you want to have a very efficient search on it, because if it's autocomplete, it should be as real-time as possible, right? So one common way of storing that is called a try, which looks something like this. And as a brief aside, it actually comes from the word retrieval. So the inventor called it a tree, but there are way the hell too many things called trees, so everybody else says try. Anyway. Back to the try. So tries are O log n searches, where n is the length of the word that you're searching for, but they're very space inefficient. If this typical implementation looks something like this, where each vertex stores the characters from every vertex before it, and then has to have a bit that says whether or not it's a terminal or not. So, for example, I is a word, so the letter I has a bit that says it's a word. It then has a child that's IN, that's also a word. It stores both I and N. Then it stores INN. Those are all words, so they all have to have bits saying they're terminal, and they all, every one stores the entire string. That's great when you're retrieving, but it's not very space efficient if you have a huge vocabulary. So enter the directed acyclic word graph. The structure on the left, GitHub or Wikipedia actually claims is a trie. That's a lot closer to what I implemented than what's on the right, although the right is what I want to get to. Directed acyclic word graphs store one character per edge. This makes it much more space efficient. You can see there's, and YoDog actually has this, there's only one end of word node, so you don't have to have extra data on every node. You can share nodes between edges. You don't store the entire string at every edge or every node, so it's much more space efficient, and it's O-log n for searching. So I couldn't find any good implementations. There's a paper about online construction of compact directed acyclic word graphs, or CDOGs. So I built this in C called YoDog. The caveats are that I don't write C very well, so I got it to run through Valgrind without dying and to stop seg faulting. And there's a couple more things to do, like make sure that it actually supports Unicode. I think it will just support UTF-8 without a problem, but who knows? Make sure that it actually doesn't seg fault, which I've had some problems with. And merge the edges so that, or merge sibling edges or sibling nodes that are the same, so that we can save even more space. I've also started a thin wrapper around it for Python called YoDogPy, and then a network service called YoDogD, which has a really simple line protocol. You can add words to it, and then you can send it a prefix with the command complete. And once it actually does anything, it will spit back a list of all the possible completions. So the code is up on GitHub, and patches are definitely welcome, especially if they're didactic and help me learn C better. And that's YoDog. Any questions or concerns, or
why is there a JS icon right there?
Oh, that's my logo. I just used my
James
old
Socol.
Oh.
Yeah. If you go to jamessocol.com, that logo is there. It's
If you didn't like C, why didn't you just write another language to replace it?
Because I'm not James Long.
Oh, okay. That's a good answer, actually.
I have a similar question. If you don't like C, why didn't you write it in JavaScript? Or
So my goal in writing it I had two goals in writing it in C. One, to learn C better, and two, to be as space efficient as possible. Each node is a very compact C struct. That's why the YoDogPy is a thin wrapper around it, because Python objects are just bigger. And the idea is to try to get as much crap into memory as possible.
Nice.
There's a question on the floor, James. Is there a YoDog in script in B yet?
Not yet, and I see that Selena wants me to write it in Go.
I don't know what it is. I haven't found this everywhere.
It would be appropriate to write it in Rust.
It would be appropriate to write it in Rust.
This meeting is deteriorating.
Well, we are
over the time.
We are now over time.
All right. Well, I think that's good.
That's awesome.
Nice work, James. You get the last round of applause.